Hello and welcome back, friends. Welcome to another video lecture of the Bioprime. This is the third part of the plasma membrane series. In this video, I will talk about the function of the membrane proteins. Probably here so many function of the membrane proteins, so many terms that feels like complicated. But once you dig inside, exclude all those difficulties outside, it will be really simple. Okay, let's talk about it. There are the function of the membrane protein and the transport, signal transduction, and the attachment to the cytoskeleton, extracellular matrix, and the intercellular joining. And this is for including with two. This is the enzyme activity and the cell recognition. Those are the major function of the membrane protein. I will discuss each and every these functions in this video. Okay, now going to the next slide. Okay, now talk about the first function of the membrane proteins, that is transport. Now, what is transport? Transport means generally you travel one place to another place. Here it goes. This is the diagram and how the molecules are passed through the membrane bilayer from one place to another place. This is the cross membrane by the passive and active transport via, and this is the passive and this is the active transport. At first we will talk about the diffusion, and now what is diffusion, and second the channel mediated and the transporter mediated. And this is the channel protein and the transporters, passive and active transport. And at first talk about the simple diffusion. Diffusion is driven by gradient in Gibbs free energy or chemical potential. The molecules have constant motions due to a kinetic energy. In diffusion, particles move from an area of higher concentration to lower concentration. May the question is come on your mind is what need molecules move from higher to lower, and the reason is the equilibrium. So you have to bring everything to an equilibrium stage or try to bring it. So via this process, simple diffusion happens. Now the second one is channel protein. This is the channel mediated. This is the channel protein and this is the transporters. The transporter mediated. At first, now talk about the channel protein. Channel proteins are also many types. And those are the voltage gated channel proteins, ligand gated channel proteins, and stress activated channel proteins. Ligand gated channel protein have two types. Those are the extracellular channel proteins and intracellular ligand gated channel protein. When ligand is bound, this channel change its conformation structure and then open the channel. This is the function of the channel mediated protein. And now shift to the next parts. Those two are the transporters. The molecules transport via this the transporter from high to low or low to high concentration. Generally, you travel one place to another place when you have your own vehicle like bike, car. You easily move one place to another place without get help from anything. But you don't have this, then you need train, bus, or any kind of vehicle or transporters to travel one to another place. This is the similarity of the passive transport through the help of their concentration gradient activity. Water have this property, so they pass through the cell membrane via channel protein. Water is hydrophilic molecules. Naturally, water should travel high to low concentration, but its hydrophilic nature, it don't pass through the hydrophobic lipid bilayer by general diffusion. In this case, we need specific channels to be present in the cell membrane so that water or any other hydrophilic molecules can pass. Now you can differentiate on the other hand, O2 don't have hydrophilic or hydrophobic nature. So it can easily pass through the cell membrane by general diffusion without any membrane protein. And the next transport system is the active transport. Here you need ATP for transport. Why ATP? Because molecules are moved against the concentration gradients. Like your house water pump, you use this pump to lifting the water on your roof against the gravitational force. This is the same process like this pump. Okay, those are the process that how a molecules travel from one concentration to another concentration. Now let's understand with this animation. You can see that some molecules directly enter via simple diffusion and some molecules bounce back because cells is selectively permeable. On the other hand, some molecules are entered through these transporters. Through these types of transporters, integral proteins, that is the process that how molecules enters in the cell or travel from one concentration to another concentration. Okay, now going to the next slide, and that is the signal transduction. It is the process by which a chemical or physical signal is transmitted through a cell as a series of molecular events. And this is the event like relay race. You know the relay race. In this case, athletes run equal predetermined distance in a sprint race, each passing a rod-like object called the baton. This is the baton to the next person to continue the race. Okay, this person and they pass this baton and he active this person and he's again running and running and he's last one and he passed the last one and here he goes. He win this race. Why did I show it to you? Because it is the similar, exact similar to the signal transduction process. In this case, the growth factor, this is the growth factor, bind with its receptor, transmits the signal to the inside of the cell. That signal activates fast molecules. That activates the fast molecules, and that molecules activates the another, which activates the another molecules, and ending with the activation of the protein called the transcription factor. The transcription factor then bind with its the target gene in the nucleus. It activates the gene and initiates the process of the protein synthesis. The signal transduction pathway tells the healthy cell to divide at the right time. However, gene mutations can lead to abnormal growth signals causing cell to divide when they should not. This can lead to cancer. This is the all about the signal transduction and this is the major function of the membrane protein. Okay, now going to the next slide. Okay, at first say about this slide, we know that the cytoskeleton bound to membrane protein that helps maintain cell shape. That is the function attachment to the cytoskeleton and extracellular matrix. And the other hand, proteins this is the integrin bound ECM clutch protein anchors integrin to actin filament, and the integrin activates signal proteins and here it goes that activates the signaling proteins, activates the myosin, and the myosin is attached it with each other and formation the tetrad formation and myosin filament assemble and they attached with each other and formation, this is the formation, the myosin filaments, actin filaments and the alpha actin, the attachment attached with both and stress fiber contract. Soft ECM, in this case high ECM deformation result in low force exposure to focal adhesion, and the steep ECM low ECM deformation cause the high force exposure in focal adhesions. In response to force, focal adhesion proteins unfold and expose hidden binding, bind the protein, activate the signaling protein, and there you go, activate the signaling protein and they bind with each other and it also helps to open the transporters, and this is the function of the membrane protein. Now going to the next slide, here he goes. This is the intercellular joining. This is the intercellular joining. Membrane proteins of adjacent cell may look together in various kind of junction or tight junction. This is the cell connection. Cells are connecting with each other via many kind of junctions like tight junction, gap junction, desmosome. And now this is the tight junction. This is the plasma membrane. This is the membrane protein, and to prevent the substance from passing between the cells. It helps. Side by side, two cells are stitched together. That is known as the tight junction. On the top view of this picture, between two cells have a gap. Through this gap, bacteria pathogens enter to the tissue via basal lamella. According to this junction, its these two cells so pathogens cannot pass. On the other hand, in urinary bladder, if the tight junction is not present, then urine can leak from the cells out into the extracellular space. So extracellular space total filled with urine without tight junctions. Not whole portion is stitched between two cells. Gaps also present. Gap and stitching both are there. For the stitching, they need clodulin protein and the occludin proteins. Okay, this is the intercellular joining of the cell, and this is the major function of the membrane protein. Okay, now going to the next slide. This time we have reached the last two functions of the membrane protein. This is the first is the enzyme activity. This is the diagram of the enzyme activity. Now a protein built into the membrane may be an enzyme with its active sites exposed to the substance in the adjacent solution. In some cases, several enzymes in a membrane are organized as a team that carries out sequential step of a metabolic pathway. And the last function is the cell-cell recognition. And this is the diagram of the cell-cell recognition. Some glucoproteins serve as identification tag that are specifically recognized by the other cell. In glucoprotein, in any of the case sugar moiety attached with transmembrane proteins, although glucoprotein components they can act to direct cell-cell interactions due to the presence of these glucoprotein components. Okay, this is the sixth function of the membrane protein. Okay, that's it. Here I said the major function of the membrane proteins in this video lecture. I hope this video helps you. If you understand this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel as well as share on your friends. Thank you and see you soon.